Hello at 10 Delight. My name is Marcus. I'm the founder of 10 Delight Waterfall Systems and also of the Waterfall School. And today I want to share something which most people don't know, and maybe they think it's not true, but you can cool rooms with waterfalls, and you can produce water with indoor waterfalls. So how does it work? Well, the system is invented by the Fraunhofer Institute, and I have also patented this systems, I think maybe 15 years ago or something like that. And 10 years ago, they contacted me through one of my courses, how to build a water wall, because they have discovered this cooling feature of waterfalls, but they didn't know how to build water walls. So they contacted me, and I feel a little bit proud that I could help them build a water wall. And since then we have shared a few projects together, which I will show you also today, because as it is a pretty new technology, there are not so many real-life experiences. They have made some test setups, which you can find on the website of the Fraunhofer Institute. I have put the link in this video. So when you go there to the chilled water wall section of their website, then you will find very elaborated explanations on the system, how it works, and also you will find data, which means they have measured the evaporation, the dehumidification, the humidification of the air, and also the cooling effects. I just read it a little bit a few minutes ago because I wanted to check a link which I had on my website, and turns out that my old link, which I have put there like 10 years ago, doesn't work because they have changed the website. So now in this video you will find the correct link. And what I have discovered there, it's really fascinating, is that the efficiency of a surface cooled with a water wall is up to 4 times higher than if you would use other cooling surfaces in comparison. So it is really a very effective way to cool rooms and to dehumidify rooms. So, and this is something which most people don't know. Many people know is that indoor waterfalls, they do evaporate water, which increases the humidity in rooms, which is very welcome for wooden houses or for dry air areas. So most people know that indoor waterfalls do evaporate water, and they are increasing the humidity of rooms. But you can reverse this effect, which means you can dehumidify the air in rooms by cooling your waterfall water. And you know it maybe if you take a cool beer out of your fridge, then a few seconds later you can see how water is condensating on that bottle. So the humidity of the air is attracted to the most cold area in the room, and there the water is condensating on that cold surface. So this is what happens when you take a cold beer out of the fridge. The same effect happens if you cool the water of your waterfall or your indoor water wall. By doing this, your waterfall becomes the coolest place in the room, which means that all the humidity, the water in the air, is attracted by this waterfall, and the water is condensating the water in the air is condensating into the air of your waterfall, which means your waterfall is dehumidifying the air, and it's also cooling the room. And it is August now, the 13th August 2026. I'm here in Germany and I have 27.6 degrees here in my office. I don't have a air conditioning system because here in Germany we are not used to such high temperatures, and I'm considering to use a waterfall, a cooled waterfall, instead of air conditioning system. And so means that this today, as the temperatures are rising, can be a solution to cool and to dehumidify rooms. And these are two effects which are supporting each other, because if you have a if the air is dry, it feels cooler than if the air is wet. So dehumidifying the air while cooling the air is a very, very pleasant effect which you can achieve if you're in a waterfall. So this is the theory, or this is what the Fraunhofer Institute has developed. They have patented this system. So if you want to sell it in a commercial way, you need this. You need to have the license from the Fraunhofer Institute, which, by the way, the company called CP Möbelsysteme GmbH in Germany, they have this patent, and they have also developed kind of I would say off-the-shelf waterfalls together with the Fraunhofer Institute that are doing this. They're cooling and they're dehumidifying the air. So I have had some customers who wanted to have the same thing, and I told them, I'm sorry, I don't have the license for the system. But what you can do as a private person is you can build a waterfall in your house or in your location by using my system, and then you can add to your waterfall the cooling feature. You can do this privately, and I have done this with one project with a doctor, with a physician here in Germany. I think he's retired, and he's like a pioneer, and he said he wants to do that, and he has made this come true. So let me just show you some pictures of that project which we have built for Dr. Graf, and he has shared this. So what you can see here is the cooling waterfall. Here in Germany we say Klima Brunnen. You can translate it also as climate fountain, because it is influencing the climate in this context by making the air cooler and dehumidifying the air, which, by the way, you can also reverse again in the other direction, which means you can humidify the air, and you can also heat the air if you have a slab or a surface that is heated. But now we are concentrating on the cooling effect and on the water production effect and the dehumidifying effect. Dehumidifying and water production are one and the same thing. I will come to this in a few minutes, because first I want to share this project we did. So what we have here is a glass waterfall, and the water is cooled. And here you can see the isolated pipes, because it's important that all the parts of your systems are isolated. Otherwise you get condensating water, not only at your waterfall water, you get condensation at all parts, because water goes to the coolest place. So of course the whole thing needed to be isolated properly, and this did a climate technician, I would say that. So here in Germany, we say Klimatechniker, those guys who installed air circulation systems in your house and who also install air conditioning systems. So that guy, he did the insulation of all the pipes. And now comes another thing which is also a little bit special, because I'm talking about using air conditioning systems to cool the water. But this customer, Dr. Graf, he did not use an air conditioning system. He used in Germany we say Wärmepumpe, Wärmetauscher, which means he uses the temperature difference coming out of the earth. I'm sorry, I'm not so well informed about these systems. They're very common here in Germany. And as far as I have understood, it's a drilling which goes down to the earth, and by using the temperature difference between the earth, deep down in the earth, and in the above earth section, you can actually cool and also heat. So his whole house is working with this Wärmepumpe system, which he can use to cool the water. And he has also sent a picture here. I don't understand these components, but the basic thing is he is heating this house and he's also cooling his house with this heat changing system, and he's also especially cooling the water of his waterfall. So there is a separate circulation and a cooling circulation which goes into the waterfall's water, which is cooling down the waterfall, and this is cooling the air, and it's also dehumidifying the air. So means you not only can use air conditioning system, you can use heat changing system, which you can Google, by the way, in order to cool down the water temperature, which then will cool your room and dehumidify your room. So we did this with a glass slab, with a glass waterfall. And you don't see the components here. You see the finished waterfall, nicely covered with decoration elements. Here you can see in wood, very nice lights. And in the background, you can see a beautiful picture. Okay. And what you cannot see is that this glass slab is covered from both sides with water. This is an important point now, because if we would have glass, if you would have the water only on one side, then the back side of the glass still would be very cold, and the water would condensate also at the dry back of the glass slab, which means you would get drops and streams of water at the back, which is not so nice. So what we needed to do in order to have such a chilled water wall or climate waterfall running properly, we had to cover it on both sides with water, which we did with a system which I have developed back then, which brings water on both sides of your glass slab. And as you can see, we don't have a frame. This is, by the way, also a system which I have developed. So the water goes on the glass slab and it stays on the glass slab's one side, or if you use this other system, you get the water on both sides of your slab. And the super cool thing about the system which we have developed back then is that the water distribution head, it also is very cool, of course, because of the cooled water. It can, and it doesn't have to be isolated, because all the condensating water on this element at the top, which is doing the water distribution, all the condensating water is redirected on the glass slabs. So we have yeah, we have developed a system that can work with very, very cold water, and it doesn't have to be isolated at the top regarding condensation, drops and water streams. So yeah, that's also, I would say, important development we found back then, because we used hours and hours to find out how should we do it, because at the beginning the customer said, okay, that shouldn't be a problem, let's just insulate the slab from the back, you know, use a glass slab and then glue some insulation material on it, and then at the side we put some profiles to avoid that the water goes around the slab. And I did some drawings and some plannings on this, but the problem is that water is pretty creative in finding ways, let's say it like that. And my experience is that if you use glue or, you know, frames and stuff, over the years, with the capillary effect and due the material working, due temperature changes, etc., very small, tiny pathways can be created, which then leads to leaks. And so we skipped this whole insulation theory back then, and we did it with my system, which is covering both sides of the slab, and which is also condensation waterproof, even after 10 or 20 years, because it's made of stainless steel. Stainless steel is almost indestructible regarding this. So means we have a system where we can handle very, very cold water and direct it on a glass slab, which then will be covered with water on both sides. And this is cooling the room, and it is also dehumidifying the room, and it is producing water. Yes, it's an indoor waterfall that actually is producing water for itself. It's incredible, isn't it? I have to repeat this sentence. It's an indoor waterfall that is producing its own water out of the thin air. Sounds even better. So we are producing water out of the thin air with a waterfall, and this is dehumidifying the air, which is very pleasant, and it is also cooling the air, which is also pleasant, and it's also removing dust and dirt from the air, which is also very pleasant. And Dr. Graf's wife, I think she's also a doctor, she said she's pretty pleased or delighted by the fact that those climate waterfalls are also reducing the dust in her house. She doesn't have to clean so much, because all the dust is attracted like a magnet to the waterfall, and so the waterfall is also cleaning the air, not only from dust and pollen and microdust, it's also cleaning the air from smells and odors. Isn't it incredible how many benefits such a waterfall can have? Okay, so we have a system that is cooling your place, that is dehumidifying your place, that is producing water, that is cleaning the air. And guess what? It's also beautiful to look at. So I asked myself, such a wonderful thing, why aren't there much more such climate waterfalls out there in the world? And I think this is because the whole waterfall business, it's like I'm the best waterfall developer in the world thing problem, because we have so many companies building waterfalls, but there is no standard. There are no proven systems for waterfalls so that they also work regarding reliability and leak security and also purity. So, you know, 20 years ago when I started, or no, 2008, it's 18 years ago, When I have built my own waterfall, my first waterfall, you know, I thought I can do this, and this is what many people think, I can do this. And then the tragedy began. So we have had many challenges over the time to find out how can we distribute the water. So, but once we had it running, you know, the waterfall ran. It didn't. There were no splashes. There were no leaks. But then still, you have the problem with calcium. You have the problem with algae and germs, and you have also the problem with all the dirt that is removed from the air, because actually the waterfall is an air washer. So I think the reason why we don't have so many climate waterfalls, or let's say climate waterfalls today, is because there is no system that is working reliable regarding all these components. And that's the reason why the Fraunhofer Institute back then came to me, because they didn't know how to distribute the water evenly on the glass slab. So I helped them with that back then. And they have also accompanied this project here with Dr. Graf. So in order to see, does this theory really work in on site in practice? So I'm sharing this incredible thing, a waterfall that is producing water out of the thin air, and it's also cooling the room and purifying the air, and it's also beautiful to look at. And now the last thing I want to share is ring mesh waterfalls. And the reason why I'm sharing this here is, as I have explained, it was pretty hard to find a solution for a glass slab to cover it on both sides with water, because the slab is going to be cold, and you cannot have the water only on one side, and the back is going to be attracting also condensation drops. And so using a ring mesh waterfall is making the whole thing much more easy. And why is it so? And let me just share the video of a ring mesh waterfall or mesh water wall, which I have built recently, which I'm very happy about too. And I'm going to share in another video how I did it and what the challenges are or have been and how I solved them. The main reason I'm sharing it here is that a ring mesh waterfall by nature is covered on both sides with water. And you can imagine that transporting and installing a ring mesh is much more easy than transporting and installing a glass slab. And you have the positive genius effect that the water is distributed on both sides on the ring mesh. And I know that this is effectively really the doubled amount of water that is running down a ring mesh compared to a glass slab waterfall where you have water running down only on one side. Because when I was doing the test setup with the ring mesh, I used the system which I'm also using for glass slabs, and it turned out that the ring mesh needs much more water to be covered, fully covered, than a glass slab needs. And of course there is an explanation for that, but I don't want to explain it. I just can tell you it's like that because I did it. I have really like the double amount of water I had to pump to the mesh in order to have both sides and the whole mesh covered. So it means we have the ring mesh is like a glass slab with both sides with water covered. So regarding the, I would say, the amount of water that has contact with the air. So that's the important point. You want to have as much surface getting in contact with the air in order to get this effect, which is dehumidifying and cooling the air. So I think we can say that if you combine these two systems, which means the one system is cooling your waterfall and the other system is using a ring mesh. So if you combine these, you get an even better system than if you would use the glass slab. As I said, transporting glass and installing glass and the weight of glass, it's much harder than using a ring mesh. So I'm sharing this here because I hope when you watch this video that you get the feeling, wow, this is cool. Because ring mesh waterfalls, they don't have only this advantage of being light and flexible and being covered on both sides with water. They also have the advantage that you can build big heights with compared small installation effort and risk if you compare it with a glass waterfall or with a stone slab waterfall. And they can be used as room dividers, or they can be used in front of walls. And as I said, you can build huge heights and they're just looking amazing. They're really looking amazing. And it has an effect. And I don't know how to describe this effect, but when I have installed this ring mesh waterfall, which you can see here at the customer's site, there was a moment, and I have this moment quite often, and it's like, you know, you are on the construction side, and especially on that side, I think it was like 50 craftsmen working. It's a big, huge project, and the waterfall was just a small one of it. So many electricians, painters, carpenters, so many craftsmen on that side working around me. And so you are in a, you know, you are in a hustle mood, and it's hard work, and then this moment comes. It's the moment when you turn on the waterfall. And this is like changing the complete scene. So all the people and all the guys and craftsmen who were, you know, just rushing and by the waterfall, they stopped, they slowed down. They were amazed. And I get a little bit goosebumps when I'm talking about it. And then comes the next thing, they calm down. It's really like that. And then we just sat there in the middle of a big construction site, you know, hammering sounds and people working and talking and shouting. But there is this calm waterfall in the middle of this, I won't say chaos, you know, but a little bit like chaos. But then there is this calm waterfall, and you sit down and you watch it, and it's like you're in another place. And this is the moment I want to share with you too here regarding ring mesh regarding waterfalls in general, because I've had this not only with this specific ring mesh waterfall, I've had it with glass waterfalls, thread fountains, and other water features. The moment it is turned on, the space, the mood, the people, they change because of this calming effect of water falling, flowing down a surface. And this is something which, you know, which gives me big satisfaction. I'm having hard times. Everybody has hard times, and also with my business. But then I remember this, and I know I'm doing something which is really, really helping people calm down, and I'm helping improving spaces. And until some time ago, it was like, you know, this is the only thing I thought I'm delivering. I'm just delivering something which is delighting people because it's beautiful watching waterfalls, water walls. But it's also really calming. And I think this is a beautiful gift you can give other people, helping them calm. and one of the architect's brothers sat next to me, and his daughter too, and we both were like harmonized, you know. We just sat there relaxed, and we were mesmerized by this waterfall, and we just, yeah, calmed down. And he too, and he said he got in a kind of a meditation state just by watching the waterfall. And I'm so grateful for this feedback, you know. So I'm helping people getting in a meditative state by helping them building waterfalls, or by delivering waterfalls by myself to them. But my main focus is helping others build their own waterfalls by using my system, by using my tutorials and my coaching. Okay, so if you intend to install a waterfall in your house or office or shop, or if you intend to create a new source of revenue for your business, then please contact me. I would be glad to help you use my system, which you can deliver to other people at your location. And as we have developed this recently, now you can also use my system to deliver ring mesh waterfalls, which will calm people who watch it, which will clean the air from dust, dirt, and smells, which will beautify the area. And if you use it as a climate fountain or chill water wall, as Fraunhofer Institute describes it, then it will also cool the space where you install it. It will dehumidify the space, and it will produce water and out of the thin air. So this is a waterfall that is producing water out of the thin air. Of course, you need to consider the fact that all the parts need to be insulated properly, otherwise you get water where you don't want to have it. And you need to deal with the water that is produced out of the waterfall. So if you live in a desert, this might be a nice way to produce your drinking water out of the thin air. But if you live in regular urban cities or wherever, and you get your water out of the tap, then you don't need the water that is produced out of the waterfall. But again, I have to say it's true. You can build a waterfall that is producing its own water out of the thin air with my system, combined with the patented discovery of the Fraunhofer Institute. And I have to add again, you cannot do this in a commercial way. So you can only deliver waterfalls, and then your customer needs to do the cooling feature by himself. So this is something which the Fraunhofer Institute will not, I will say, or which the license, as far as I have understood, does permit. So you can do it for your private purpose, but you cannot do it on a commercial level. I think it's an international license. So if you want to do it on a commercial level, then you have to contact the Fraunhofer Institute, and then I would be happy if you contact me, because what I really would like to develop, and I have some, I would say, nice ideas to create ring mesh cooling waterfalls. And not only as a slab or as a surface, as a flat surface, and that's another, I would say, really pleasant advantage of the ring mesh. You can also use it and shape it in other shapes. So you don't have to use it just, as you can see here on the video, as a flat surface. You can build pillars, waves, and other shapes with ring mesh and still cool it and dehumidify the air and produce water and clean the air and have an amazing thing to look at. Because there's one additional benefit you get from ring mesh waterfalls, they are reflecting the light. Really beautiful, because actually it's stainless steel, it's polished stainless steel. The ring mesh is made out of rings, out of polished stainless steel, and you know, when you put light, colored light on stainless steel, it's like a mirror. It's reflecting the whole light, and this in combination with the water means that you can create a visual stunning effects with ring mesh waterfalls, because they are reflecting the light so beautifully. So you can build a ring mesh waterfall that is cooling the air, dehumidifying the air, producing water, cleaning the air from dust, smell, dirt, and it's also something which calms people, which is stopping people, which is attracting people. So I think there are many, many benefits, and I know there are also many, many risks to build something like that. I can tell you I needed like 3 days to have it running in a proper way so that I don't get splashes with the ring mesh. So this is one thing. The other thing is the water treatment, and of course safety and security. You want to avoid water damages, you want to avoid corrosion, you want to avoid algae and germs. And this you can avoid by proper planning and proven system, because I'm doing this since 2008. This is like 18 years ago I started doing water walls. Airbus is using my system. Many other customers have used my system to build their own waterfall. And yeah, let me say it again. I have built systems which can be used by everybody, and they work reliably if you follow the steps regarding safety and water treatment. Then you will have a waterfall that is running for months without you having to do anything, because everything is automated. You have to change the water additive and the filters from time to time, but your waterfall is running automatically. And then after a few months you have to change the filters or the water additive, and then maybe every 1 or 2 years you do a maintenance by yourself, or you hire your local guy to do the maintenance for you, which shouldn't be a big deal, because if you take care of calcium, dirt, algae and germs, and automated filling with safety overflow precautions, then you won't have problems, and your waterfall is going to run for a very, very long time. Okay, so 40 minutes talking. I hope there was something you can use for yourself that is beneficial, that has had a wow or an aha effect on you, and that would be great if you contact me. I've changed my shop system recently too, which means that I'm still sharing a lot of content, but in order for you to get to that content, I'm asking you to buy a tree ticket, which is $27. Oh no, it's $18 at the moment, and $10 are automatically donated to Tree Nation, which means they're planting 10 trees, around 10 trees, with these $10, and the other $8 left I'm using to buy ice cream and things like that. So after you buy a tree ticket, you get entrance to my shop and also to all the content, which is explaining the details. And what I'm also building now is trainings for the different systems. So there is going to be a glass waterfall mastery training webinar at the end of August. As far as I remember, it's a Monday, the 31st August. There will be a webinar about the glass waterfall mastery, so how you can build a glass waterfall. Then there will be a ring mesh mastery webinar training, which you also can register for. But this is not going to be for free. So you're going to get glass waterfall mastery Also not for free. I'm sorry, I'm still working on it. You know, I'm not sure how to set up the pricings, etc. So at the moment, it's probably going to be like that. After you get a 3 ticket, you can watch 1 training for free. And I have 5 trainings at the moment: glass waterfalls, thread fountain waterfalls, mesh waterfalls, waterfall automation, and what's the 5th? I don't know, I don't remember, or I'm not sure which one I have declared to be the 5th training. So one of these 5 trainings, you can access them after you have purchased the 3 ticket. Okay, so I hope this helps. Please subscribe to my channel. Please buy a 3 ticket to support my work. You also get a consultation if you do that. And I hope to see you soon and your project come to life. Thank you. Bye-bye.